The Lord be with you.
And with your spirit.
A reading from the Holy Gospel according to John.
Glory to you, Lord.
In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was in the beginning with God. All things came to be through him, and without him, nothing came to be. What came to be through him was life, and this life was the light of the human race. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. A man named John was sent from God. He came for testimony, to testify to the light, so that all might believe through him. He was not the light, but came to testify to the light. The true light, which enlightens everyone, was coming into the world. He was in the world, and the world came to be through him. But the world did not know him. He came to what was his own, but his own people did not accept him. But to those who did accept him, he gave the power to become children of God to those who believe in his name, who were born not by natural generation, nor by human choice, nor by a man's decision, but of God. And the Word became flesh and made his dwelling among us, and we saw his glory, the glory as of the Father's only Son, full of grace and truth. John testified to him and cried out, saying, "This was he of whom I spoke. The one who is coming after me ranks ahead of me, because he existed before me." From his fullness we have all received grace in place of grace. Because while the law was given through Moses, grace and truth came through Jesus Christ. No one has ever seen God. The only Son, God, who is at the Father's side, has revealed him. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
On behalf of Father Jim, Father Rob, and our whole parish staff here at Mary Queen of the Apostles, I want to wish you and your families a blessed Christmas season. And a special welcome to any visitors that we have joining us here today. We're so glad that you decided to celebrate this awesome holy day with us here. At first glance, the gospel today may seem like a strange choice for Christmas, but it really is a Christmas story, just told from a theological view. It starts with the same words as the book of Genesis and talks about how Jesus, the Word, took part in creation. We hear about John the Baptist preparing the way, and we hear about Jesus' birth with these beautiful words, "And the Word became flesh and made his dwelling among us, and we saw his glory, the glory as of the Father's only Son, full of grace and truth." These words tell us not just that Jesus came into the world, but they also tell us who he is, God, the Father's only Son. The gospel even tells us why he came. He wanted us to become children of God. He came to reveal God to us. In simple terms, he came to show us how to live. Jesus gave us two commandments. Love God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. And love your neighbor as yourself. This is how Jesus lived. And this is how we are called to live. Think of the word joy. The letters stand for Jesus first, others second, and yourself last. Living that joy leads to everlasting joy. The saints were masters of this. They developed such virtue in their lives that living joy was just natural to them. Surely we're not called to live like that, are we? Actually, we are. Maybe not in the heroic way the saints lived their lives, but just in the ordinary things that happen in our daily lives. Let me give you an example of what this looks like. About 5 years ago, during a nasty winter storm, the Malenfant family found themselves stuck in Boston. They had been in New York City, where 19-year-old Corey had brain surgery 4 days earlier. She was recovering well, but was under doctor's orders to rest and take it easy. The family was on their way home to Westfield, Maine, when the winter storm hit. Their train from New York took longer than expected, and by the time they made it to Boston, they missed their connecting train by 5 minutes. The next train to Maine was hours away. Stuck at North Station, with temperatures in the single digits, the family realized that it was too cold, too crowded, and too uncomfortable for Corey. They began to panic because Corey's health and safety were at risk. There are some police officers nearby setting up to work the Bruins game, and Wendy, Corey's mom, approached Captain Kelly McCormick for help, seeking a place to store their luggage so they could go somewhere quiet and warm. McCormick came over and immediately noticed how tired, cold, and frail Corey appeared. Now, McCormick knew firsthand just how difficult post-op was. His wife was a recipient of a kidney transplant not long before. So he loaded the family and their luggage into his cruiser, saying that they could go with him and warm up while he got gas. But after gassing up, he kept driving. Near Linfield, which is about a half hour outside Boston, Wendy asked, "Are you driving us to Portland?" McCormick responded, "Yes, this is a kidnapping, but it's legal." The family was stunned. McCormick was driving 4 hours round trip to take them to where their vehicle was parked in Portland. They were quiet for a moment and then burst into tears. About 2 hours later, they were back home in Maine, and a couple hours after that, McCormick reported for duty at the Bruins game. What a compassionate man. He definitely loved his neighbor as himself. He saw someone in need and took action. He put aside what he wanted to do in order to take care of another person, a complete stranger. Captain McCormick let love be a verb, and we need to do the same. Love needs to be action, something that we do, something that drives us to live as Jesus showed us. Love simply needs to be who we are. We can live this love by making a simple phone call to a struggling friend, by focusing on the needs of our children, by serving meals in a soup kitchen, by donating to a worthy cause. The way to live a life of joy is limited only by our imagination. Now, there is one loose end to tie up. Remember when I mentioned that Captain McCormick's wife was a recipient of a kidney transplant? Well, guess who the donor was? That's right, none other than McCormick himself. For him, love truly is a way of life. Jesus comes to us today. The question is, do we live our lives differently because of that?